like, it was really baffling that she tried to say that I didn't stick around and I didn't try and she didn't know what I was talking about. I sent you a video. Dirty head gal. Like, what are you talking about? Are you not embarrassed? Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Leah. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing fabulous, beautiful, amazing. This is week 500 of the pandemic. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm just about losing my mind. Like, I cannot take it no more, okay? I'm over it, okay? How are y'all doing? What are you doing to cope with this pandemic? Like, are you exercising? Are you eating? Are you shopping? Have you developed an addiction? Let me know. Let me know, because you're not alone, okay? I am here for you. I'm here for you. In today's video, I will be actually giving you guys a story time. I know that I don't do story times like often, and that's because like although I have a lot of stories, like I just don't want to give them to you all at once, because that could be tiring and honestly a little boring sometimes. So today I have a story time for you that actually happened pretty recently, and yeah, let's just get right into it. So basically, as y'all know, okay, I went to Florida a few months ago. So I went to Florida in August and it is now September, right? I went to Florida to visit one of my best friends because she was pregnant and she was about to have the baby soon. That vlog is up on my channel, so make sure you go and watch that. I went to Florida, and Florida is like one of those hot states, so Florida has a lot of like active COVID cases and stuff like that. So when you leave a hot state and you come back to New York, you have to quarantine for 2 weeks, so that's about like 10 to 14 days. And a lot of people just like quarantine at their house, but because I have, you know, people in my household that are like high risk, I didn't want to do that, so I went to quarantine at an Airbnb. Plus I wanted space for myself. So before my trip, I actually went to look for like places where I could quarantine. I didn't want to stay at a hotel because I wanted to cook, and I knew that if I stayed at a hotel, then I would be spending like a lot of money on food, and I didn't want to do that because, girl, accommodations are already expensive. Like, I didn't want to pay more money on food. So I wanted to look for an Airbnb. One thing about me is that I'm super picky when it comes to Airbnbs and like places to stay. Like, if the bathroom isn't cute, I'm not staying, okay? If the bedding is ugly, I'm not staying. If it looks like a Motel 6, I'm not staying. If the floor has carpet on it, but like a certain type of carpet, I'm not staying. I'm not staying there, okay? If it just look dusty and stink, I'm not staying. I'm not staying. Call me bougie, call me what you want, but I like to be comfortable where I lay my head. So I was looking for this B&B for, I want to say, like a few days. Like, that's the only thing I was concentrating on. Whatever. So I narrowed it down to like a few Airbnbs based on like my price point, based on location, and based on like all the things that I just mentioned a while ago. And I found some pretty cool ones. It was really between this Airbnb that I'm going to talk about and another one. And I chose this one because it was less expensive, but also I really liked the way it looked, and I thought it would be nice to like record videos for aesthetic reasons and take pictures, you know what I'm saying? I thought it was going to be cute, you know? It was not. It wasn't. Anyway, so I go on this trip. I go to Florida. It's fun. It was a key. I had fun with my friends. And then I came back to Brooklyn, right? I came back to Brooklyn, and the day before I was coming back, I got an email from like the person whose B&B I was staying at, and it was like from some type of like management place, because sometimes these B&Bs, like, they rent their space through like a management company or whatever the case is. So I got an email from her. It was real professional and everything. It was like, hey, here are some places to stay, here's the Wi-Fi password, blah blah blah, all of that. So I get to the place, and the first red flag is that the door is colorful. That might sound like, why is that a problem? But if you live in New York, if you're from New York, if you've ever been to New York, you know that we don't do stuff like that, okay? All our doors look the same. our blocks look the same, especially if you live in like a brownstone or you live in an apartment building area. Nobody paints their door, okay? Like, your house falls in line with the other houses. Don't be obnoxious. Those are the rules. I don't make them. So the door is mad colorful, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine too. That's okay. This place is across the street from a park, and I'm like, okay, well, it should be safe, I guess, if the kids be here. So I go into the place where she keeps like the lockbox or whatever. I put the code in incorrect. It won't open. So I was like, huh? I try again. Doesn't work. All right, okay. So I'm like, maybe it's just me because I'm tired, I've been on a plane, I'm exhausted, whatever. Third time, it's not working. She's not working, okay, at all. I realized that the like combination that was in the email was different from the combination that was in my Airbnb confirmation on the Airbnb app. So I tried that code instead. She wasn't working. I'm not about to be locked out of some place that I paid money for. So I text her real quick and I'm like, hey, I'm trying to check in, but the code is not working. So I asked her which one is the correct one, and she sends it to me. I try again. And then I was able to get it unlocked this time, but I had to put like extra force into like opening it or whatever. So I get the key. I drag my heavy suitcase up the stairs because they didn't have an elevator. This building was about like 3 stories high. So I drag my suitcase up the stairs and I get in the apartment just fine. I put my suitcase down. I take a look around the place. It was a small place. It was a studio, but that was okay for me because I didn't want a place that was too big so that I would actually feel alone. I know I was gonna be alone, but I didn't want to feel alone, if that makes sense. So I'm looking around and I'm like, okay, it looks the same as the listing. But then I notice that her dresser drawers are full. And I'm like, this cannot be. This cannot be because I'm gonna be here for 2 weeks. I need some place to put my clothes. Why are your clothes in the dresser? You're not staying here. You rented out your place. You know I'm gonna be here for 2 weeks. Why would you leave your things here? Like, that literally doesn't make any sense to me. So I start looking around to see if like there's other like closet space or something like that. There were other like storage areas, but they were locked, so I couldn't get in. So at this point, I don't know what to do. I'm not gonna live out my suitcase for 2 weeks. I text her politely and I said, hey, let's call her Susan. So I text her and I'm like, hey Susan, like, is there a storage space for me to put my clothes because your clothes are in the dresser? So she texts me back and she goes, yeah, they are. Okay. So I text her back and I'm like, oh, just to be clear, like, is there a space for me to put my clothes in or no? So she goes, yeah, there's a storage bin under the bed. A storage bin? You want me to put my clothes in a storage bin that was under your bed? Come again? Pardon? Excuse me? Excusa? Oh, no ma'am. No ma'am. So I'm like, okay, I could do one of 2 things. I could take her clothes out the dresser and put them in the storage bin, or I could put my clothes in the storage bin. I was gonna go ahead and put my clothes in the storage bin only because I don't touch people's clothes. I don't know where she been. I don't know where her clothes been. I wasn't gonna touch it. No. I was fine with that, but then I don't know, for some reason I was uncomfortable. And you know how like people say to trust your gut instincts, like, you know when you're going to be uncomfortable by something, and when you are, just listen to that. I honestly should have listened to my instincts because for some reason I was just so uncomfortable in that space. So I got hungry at some point and I decided to order something. So I ordered from one of my favorite like soul food spots or whatever. And I'm like waiting for the food. I'm watching a Netflix movie. Oh my goodness. I go downstairs when the food finally arrives, and here's the kicker. I try to open the front door. It's not opening. The door is not opening. Okay? No. Like, literally, the front door so I can exit the building, it would not open. And the lock was, like, really loose. So I was like, oh, like, the door lock is broken. So I'm turning it around. It's loose. I'm assed out at this point. I know it's going down because I'm starting to panic. I'm starting to panic. Like, my thing is, I'm able to handle situations where I'm uncomfortable, but if I am in an unfamiliar space, an unfamiliar place that I don't belong in, technically, I'm gonna flip out if I can't get out. That's just what it is. I'm claustrophobic. Yeah, no, we're not doing this. We're not. So I was like about to flip out, but before that, I really tried to open the door. Mind you, the delivery man is outside this apartment door. Like, he's looking at me like, I have another delivery to make. So I texted him on the Uber app and I was like, hey, just like leave the food on the steps. So now my food is on the steps in Brooklyn. Okay. I'm opening this door. I'm trying to open it. I'm trying to pull it. I'm trying to twist the lock, but I didn't want to, like, you know, move it around too much so that it fell out, because now the door is really broken. It's not opening. Y'all, it's not opening. I was like, oh my God. I could not even like breathe at that point. So I called one of my best friends, right? I called one of my best friends and I was like, yo, like, I can't get out the door. She's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I can't get out the front door. Like, I'm locked in this apartment building. So because I'm on FaceTime with her, like, I turned the camera around so she can see like what I'm talking about. So she's like, oh, try to twist it. I'm trying to twist it, and she's like, oh bro, like, that door is locked, because she can tell that it's not clicking. It's not making a clicking sound. I'm not an idiot, you know what I'm saying? I'm not a handyman. I'm not a superintendent, but I'm also not an idiot. Like, I can tell when a door lock is broken. So me and her are like, yeah, the door is broken. So she's like, yo, like, just go knock on somebody's door and see if they can help you open the door. Maybe this happens all the time. Bet. I'm not in the business of knocking on random people's door, okay? For one, I don't like to talk to strangers. And two, this is an Airbnb. I don't know who lives in this apartment building. Like, I didn't want to. But because I was so desperate to get out the building at that point, I went to knock on the person who lived on the first floor, their door. So I knock on the door, right? And I'm on the phone with my friend still. And the strangest thing happens. Literally, like, these dogs and these cats start to, like, bark and meow. And when I say dogs and cats, I don't mean, like, one dog and one cat. I literally heard, like, 2 to 3 different barks and 2 to 3 different meows. There were mad cats in there. That nigga was running a zoo. He was running a zoo. I was like, no way. No way this is happening. And my instinct is telling me to flee. Because from what I know, when somebody hoards a bunch of animals, something ain't right. Okay, something ain't right. I seen too many movies. I watched Lifetime. No. So I step away from the door and I'm like, no, I'm not doing this. And mind you, I think somebody was in that apartment building, because I could kind of hear like shuffling and stuff like that, but nobody came to the door. And now that I look back at it, like, I'm thankful nobody came to the door, because honestly, I don't know who would have opened that door, and I would have flipped out. So I left the door and I went back to the front door, still trying to open it. Nothing. At this point, I decide to take a video. So I hang up on my friend. I take a video. I'm trying to open the door. It is not opening. This knob right here is very loose. Like, it won't even, there's no click. If you can hear that, no click at all. It's incredibly loose. I can't get on my Airbnb. Like, no, nothing. There's no back door, nothing. I ordered food and it is just sitting outside because I haven't been able to get out since I got in here. So, you know, there's that. And I'm like texting Susan and I'm like, hey, I'm having another problem. The front door won't open. So she's like, what do you mean the front door won't open? So I'm telling her, like, I'm trying to open the door. It's not opening. So she's like, that's strange. Like, can you send me a video? So I take a video and I send it to her and she's like, okay, did you try like pulling it or whatever? And I'm like, yes, I tried pulling the door. It's not opening. So she's like, okay, I called the superintendent. Like, he's going to be there soon to see what the problem is. Whatever. So at this point, I'm still trying to open the door because whether or not this lady calls the super, like, I need to get out because I'm uncomfortable and I feel like I'm in danger. Like, if there was a fire, it would have been over for me. So I'm on the phone with my friend and I'm like, hey, like, can you please just come get me? So she gets in an Uber and she comes to my area. And I go upstairs to charge my phone a little bit. And when she gets there, I go back downstairs. She's trying to open the door from the outside. Nothing. It's not happening. is not happening. Like, nothing we did was opening that door. So she goes, why don't you go upstairs and buzz the door and see if I can get in? So I went upstairs, she rings the doorbell, and I buzzed it, and that's the only way she was able to get in the door. So now the door is finally open. I got my little food in my hand, whatever. We stick like a cardboard thing in the doorway to keep it open so make sure it doesn't close again. And then we go upstairs. So I'm texting this lady and I'm like, I'm in the building now, but only because my friend was able to get me. She's like, okay, the super is coming. And I was like, yeah, I so she calls me actually to get, I guess, a better sense of what was happening. And I told her, and I was like, yeah, I even, you know, knocked on someone's door and no one answered, but I wanted to get help. And she was like, oh, please don't do that, because like I don't really know the people who live in a building that well. I was like, excuse me? First of all, it sounded like she was running some type of shady operation, because if you knew your neighbors would know that you're doing Airbnb from your apartment, okay, sis? And I think she was doing Airbnb without them knowing. Like, it must have been like out of regulations for you to run an Airbnb out of your apartment. But she was like, yeah, please don't knock on the neighbors' doors. I don't really know them, you know, I don't want to disturb them and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay. Anyway, allegedly the superintendent was gonna come, but at that point, like, I had already decided I wasn't gonna stay there. I was absolutely not gonna stay there, because I was already uncomfortable. I felt like my life was in danger. It was time for me to dip, okay? Cece, she had to leave, period. So yeah, I left the Airbnb, and, you know, I told her I was checking out, and she was like, that's fine. I put the lock back in the box, whatever, and I skedaddled. I went back to my friend's house for the night, and I also looked for an Airbnb. Thankfully, I was able to find one, so I was able to check into another Airbnb the day after. And that Airbnb was so much nicer. Like, it was run by like this black family. They were super nice. Like, the lady was very quick with the responses. I had storage space. Thank you very much. It was a much bigger space too. It was in a nice neighborhood. So overall, I was satisfied with that. And you know what's funny? Like, I was upset at my situation, and I was mad because I didn't know whether or not I would be able to get all my money back from this Airbnb disaster. But because I was so uncomfortable, I knew that there was no way I was able to stay there. There were other factors that would keep me from staying there. Like, it was across the street from a park, so it was loud. Them kids was popping fireworks in the middle of the day. Like, dummy, you're not gonna see anything, the sun is out, okay? It was across the street from a bodega, so they were playing music mad loud. Like, it was just a lot of moving pieces that I didn't like in that building, and I knew that I wasn't gonna be able to stay there. So although I was upset about the situation, I'm glad that I was able to find another B&B, because, you know, they say that better things are coming your way. Like, sometimes the grass is greener on the other side. So everything happens for a reason, and I'm glad I was able to get out of there, because I had a much better experience at my other B&B. But I tried to dispute the charges, and I tried to get my money back, but it didn't work, because they were basically saying that, what's her name, Susan, was trying to say how she wasn't responsible for the front door not opening, how I was able to get into her apartment. It wasn't her fault, how I didn't stay the whole night, I didn't even allow the superintendent to come. Baby girl, I stayed around for like 30 minutes to 45 minutes, and that superintendent never came. So what is you talking about? Like, it was really baffling that she tried to say that I didn't stick around and I didn't try and she didn't know what I was talking about. I sent you a video. Dirty head gal. Like, what are you talking about? Are you not embarrassed? This is embarrassing. Like, you should be embarrassed, okay? I was like, you know what? And the thing is, like, I maintained my cool, because no matter what I wanted to tell her about herself, like, I wasn't going to be unprofessional, because that's not going to help or solve any situations here. So, I kind of just left it alone, and I tried to deal with Airbnb with the situation, but they weren't really, you know, helping anything either. And also, I feel like because Airbnb is losing out on money because of this pandemic, like, they really weren't trying to give me my money back. And at first, I was really pissed off about it, because this is like $800+ I'm talking about. They gave me half the deposit, because that was in the flexible cancellation rules, but they didn't give me all my money back. So I missed out on like almost $900. Never got that money back, and I had to pay for another Airbnb. So that's upsetting, because in this economy you need all the money you could get, but you know what goes around comes around. yeah, so that is my Airbnb horror story. I'm actually, I don't know if I'm ever gonna rent an Airbnb again because now I'm just pissed off. But also, I forgot to tell y'all. So while I was looking for Airbnbs, I was really into Susan's B&B. But the one thing that should have tripped me off that there was something wrong with this place is because the last review she had was like 2 years ago. Like, I should have known there was something off about that. Like, everybody uses Airbnb these days, especially in New York City. Like, nobody goes to hotels. Like, people be getting Airbnbs, and it's in Brooklyn. Like, come on now. It didn't make sense to me, and I thought, maybe, I don't know, maybe she took a pause from Airbnb for a while. Like, I should have listened to my instincts, but we move, whatever. But yeah, that is my Airbnb horror story. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what else you want to see. Let me know, how frequently do you want me to post these story times? Because I have more stories, but like, I don't know how frequently I should post them. So let me know in the comments, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.